Next one, Mr. Chairman, is also a conditional use permit request. This one is by Perma-Fix of South Georgia. And this is for property, it's about 3.5 acres located at 1612 James P. Rodgers Circle. Perma-Fix has operated on site for a number of years, but as you see in the staff report, there's a long history of heavy industrial use. They are requesting the conditional use permit for a solid waste transfer station. And as you read, it is actually the reactivation of that use that existed on the property many years ago up until 2018. There was a rule change. As you know, the land development regulations were adopted in 2009. Before that, we had a different use table where a heavy industry of this type was categorized with other industrial uses. It was a permitted use. That existed up through 2009. When the regs changed, solid waste transfer stations became its own line item in the use table, and that required a conditional use permit. From 2009 to 2018, this existed as a grandfathered in non-conforming use. During that time, also in 2013, there was a tragic fire on the site. That's also described in your packet. That, by virtue of the fire, that shut down part of the property more or less permanently. In 2018, they voluntarily gave up that kind of operation. Now they are requesting to bring it back with the assistance of a third party. As described in the applicant's letter of intent, which I think is about 3 pages long in your packet, they were granted approval by Georgia EPD last year to begin the process of resuming solid waste transfer operations, although under a different type of system, I think. That's also described there in your packet. So because of the rule change, the use went out of non-conforming status a year after it shut down. So in 2019, the grandfathering ended. That was nearly 6 years ago. So now they are back, and because of the change in regulations, they must get a conditional use permit approved by the city in order to resume solid waste transfer operations. So with all of that, given the history of the property, I think if you see comments in there from the fire department, staff has found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, the conditional use review criteria, which are described in more detail there in your packet. We are recommending approval subject to 2 conditions. The first one is conditional use approval shall be granted in the name of the applicant only as owner of the property for a solid waste transfer station or transfer facility in accordance with all applicable state and federal permitting requirements and procedures of operation and handling as it relates to hazardous waste and other materials. Any facility reuse or expansions within the site will also be subject to the full city planning review procedures and approval of both the building official and the fire marshal. 2, conditional use approval shall expire after 1 year from the date of approval. If there's no city business license issued to the applicant or their tenant by that date, the applicant, now that they have the state approvals, I think they are anxious to move on in obtaining the city approvals. The representative is here this evening. They can go into a lot more technical detail than I would pretend to know, but I'll try and answer any questions you may have.
Questions for staff? All right. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this case? Please step forward.
My name is Kevin Schmuggerell. I'm the owner's representative. I work for Perma-Fix Environmental Services. We're a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. So just to throw that out, Russell 2000. This was a use that we had from, like was stated, from 2006 through 2018. The fire that had occurred was a totally different operation, and that portion of the building's been removed, and we have no plans of rebuilding that operation. This is simply a solid waste transfer. We bring in like materials, like waste, that are manifested mainly out of state to Texas and Arkansas, Florida, different states, to be able to get full truckloads to maximize transportation. And we're in agreement with planning regarding the conditions of the conditional use permit. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have.
You said light material, what type of light material?
It'd be, waste streams that would be, go to the same, location. So if it was, some of the materials might be fuel blending material, like paint thinners and those kind of things. None of the containers would be open, it just goes from truck to truck. And those materials would go to, for example, a cement kiln to be reused as a recyclable material in lieu of coal to be used in the manufacturing of cement. Others might be, waste streams, waste energy, which, again, go to a kiln, it's non-hazardous waste energy. Some are incineration waste streams where they would actually go to an incinerator in Texas. It's gonna go to various locations, but really we're taking a few drums off of a manifest from one of the customers and a few drums from this customer and placing it wherever it's being manifested to on a truck, just to optimize transportation. That's really what it's done. We did that from 2006 through 2018. 5 years after the fire, we continued to do that. We just stopped doing it in 2018 and did not renew our business license and stopped that activity. And since then, we met with Georgia PD and they approved, I think it was October of '23, us to resume those activities. We came and we applied for a business license again in June, and then found out that zoning and things changed, and we were actually non-conforming. We needed this condition.
So each container will only be there 10 days.
Any hazardous waste container, it's a hazardous material like paint thinners or whatnot, maximum can be there is 10 days. That's the transport rules, and none of the containers are open. They just basically go from one truck to another. The facility prior to that used to open up, process, treat waste on site. Much different operation.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak in favor of this case? All right. Is there anyone that would like to speak against this case?
My name is Robert McLeod. This is Jonathan Muneer. He's with Powerhouse Diesel Generators.
We own the property right above that one on the picture there.
That property used to be Tri-State Glass, TSG Industries.
Please state the address.
1616 James P. Rodgers Drive.
Mr. Chairman, you can see the street addresses in this aerial image.
I was partner and owner in Tri-State and TSG Industries for over 40 years. We built that facility, and Perma-Fix has been there for many years. They have test wells all over that area, groundwater testing. They have a test well on what was our property. We sold the property to Powerhouse Diesel Generators, but the owners are out of town, so Jonathan and I are here to represent them. I have seen over there in years gone by, he says solid waste, but he just says paint thinners, all kind of chemicals. They had one of the worst fires this county has ever seen, chemical fire, years ago. It shut our business down. It sent 3 or 4 firemen to the hospital because of just burns. I mean, there was a couple of the firemen that were air flighted to Gainesville, I think, or somewhere. But anyway, they've been shut down. They still test our wells. Thank goodness, we just sold the property here just a month and a half ago to Powerhouse Diesel Generators. I got the notice today in the mail that this was going on, so we kind of here at the last minute notice, to be honest with you. But we're speaking against this solid waste. I mean, and that was one of my questions, was what kind of waste? When you start talking about paint thinners and chemicals, I mean, that is the worst kind of hazard you can produce. seen barrels. I've been all up and down that railroad track. We were located there before just about any of those buildings behind us. And I've seen barrels from that company flipped over with chemicals draining down to mud swamp. I mean, that's a fact. And, it's just hazard. I mean, it's a big hazard. Valdosta doesn't need any more of that. I mean, I think if you test mud swamp down there right now, you probably find chemicals in the water down there, just residue. But,
I know that it's bad enough that, now however many years later, they still have to come and test our water on site routinely. The chemical testers, they show up in the truck, they say, at this point, they know them, say, yeah, I know where you're going, go ahead, go test it. Well, we just purchased the property and we're expanding on it. Right now, I've got about 50 employees, just under about 47 people working on the facility. We're building an additional building on site and expanding, and we're going to create even more jobs here in Valdosta. And it just, to me, given the history of the property and the company, it poses a threat to my employees and my people, and that's why I would speak against it. And again, I imagine the zoning was changed for a reason, and that's talking about solid waste. Now we're talking about chemical waste and hazardous materials. Like, solid waste is one thing, but you're talking about materials that cause a threat to life and limb of my employees, and I'm pretty against that. So.
I want to add, we've had a first step meeting, and Mr. Dillard was in the meeting. We're in the process of building another 19,000 square feet addition to this facility. It's amazing to me, they build emergency generators. I mean, they build large commercial. They've sold the city of Valdosta, what, 30,
About 40
emergency generators already.
all the lift stations in there. When the hurricane came through, everybody's water kept flushing because of the generators.
But it scares me to know that they're opening that place back up, to be honest with you. I mean, in the past, they've been very lax with their safety, and I mean, it's just, I've seen too much over the years. We started building that facility in 72, 73, we added on numerous times, and we were there for over 40-something years. And we've leased it to Firehouse Diesel for the last 3 or 4 years, and gave them the option to buy the property, which they had exercised that option, and they own it now. But we're against it, to be honest with you. It's a dangerous facility, very dangerous.
Questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
My name is Gretchen Quarterman. I live at 6565 Quarterman Road. Everybody knows about Perma-Fix, so I don't have to talk about that. Our world is changing dramatically, and it has been for the last, 10 or 15 years. And our local community is our last vestige of taking care of what we want our community to be. What y'all do up here is very important, because you say what it is that we're gonna have in our community. You make the rules about what the GLPC is gonna say, what the land development is gonna say, what's gonna be approved and what's not gonna be approved. When companies from other states send their garbage to us, it says a lot about our community. We don't want our community to have the reputation of, yeah, we'll take your trash, and if it burns, and people in our community get lung disease or burns, or these people's property, the groundwater is contaminated, or mud swamp is contaminated. We don't care about that. That's not the kind of community we want to be. We want to be the kind of community that says we care about our people, we care about our businesses, and we care about our earth. So I would ask that you would recommend denial of this, because it's not the kind of community that we want to be. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak against this case? All right, there being none, any further questions for staff?
I do have a quick question for staff now. Based on my understanding, of what's been communicated, this is not the exact same operation that was in existence prior.
No, if you'll read the letter of intent, it's the same company that owns it, has owned
Yes.
it for many, many years.
Yes.
Trying to put it in layman's terms in a nutshell, up until 2013, before the fire, they would receive hazardous waste from a variety of customers. I venture to guess many of them are local. But they would open the containers, at least some of them, to consolidate materials together. I don't know if there's any pre-treatment. My understanding from the fire in 2013 is that kind of operation and maybe the lack of being completely careful may have triggered the fire or at least contributed to it. So now their policy or their procedure is to not open containers on site. So hazardous waste may come from a variety of places. It's all a variety of types. It's not all going to the final destination. Keep in mind, final destination is not local. These are going far away, Alabama, Arkansas, and Texas, I think are the states they mentioned in their letters. So they will sort the containers that they receive based on their final destination. And then 2 or 3 from one customer plus 2 or 3 from others. Those will be consolidated into a truckload that will then go to Texas or wherever the final destination is.
So would you say it's almost like a dry drop, kind of a dry drop site?
It's like a distribution center specifically for that, with their customers, relatively low traffic compared to what it could be, which is, I think, one reason why the conditional use. State permitting is all over the top of this. 10-day maximum is how they could store it on site, so this does not become a disposal site, but simply a transfer site. That 10-day rule is there for a reason. So that's how they will operate. And what's interesting to me, I did not realize until talking to them, and of course receiving the letter, that they continued operating some of this after 2013. But as you see, they did for another 5 more years. They were allowed to, of course, with a lot of oversight. I think they are still getting a lot of oversight and will continue because of the history from the past 10, 12 years.
Commissioner Rodgers?
Yes, just my concerns, with Perma-Fix, to have some type of strong, strict monitoring system in place about these containers. Who's going to enforce that these containers are not open or spillage? And my other concern is, across from there is a petroleum company, 1615. That's also, we're already dealing with some issues. So I just want to let commissioners know, if you haven't been out there, it's already a petroleum company right across from there. So,
I have a comment.
Yes.
So, the gentleman from Perma-Fix is not trying to be tricky with his word. This word solid waste comes from the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which is what EPA regulates. So the regulation would come from EPA. Solid waste, if you read the regulations, includes gases, liquids, and solids. So any kind of waste that's a hazardous waste that has no future intended use becomes a waste that has various hazardous characteristics, which can be strictly characteristic like corrosive, toxic, flammable, reactive. Those would be your characteristics. Or they could be listed waste, and in some ways they're listed waste. But all these wastes are highly regulated. I'd be surprised if there are not daily, weekly, monthly inspections that have to be performed at this facility. All of these wastes should be handled within secondary containment. So they come off the truck, in a facility that has secondary containment in case there is a leaker spill. It's captured, it can't go anywhere. If you follow all the regulations and you're handling waste just simply like 55-gallon drums or 5-gallon coming from anywhere that are contained and separated according to their, the way they can be most safely handled and managed with containment. It's nothing more than what you would see if you were at Walmart or Home Depot or anywhere where you're having lighter fluids or solvents or anything that has any kind of a hazardous characteristic coming in the store, sitting there on the shelf in a container. As long as the containers are sound and in good condition, they're just as safe as having them stored when you walk by the paint thinner rack at Home Depot. And they have acetones, they have methyl-ketone, they have various solvents there that are these same materials, except these materials have been used and are wastes. I mean, they either have to be sent out, they're gonna consolidate them, they're gonna put them on a truck where they have a full truckload going to Texas or Illinois or Florida, somewhere for incineration or fuel blending or some other purpose, maybe just simple destruction. But this is the way our government regulates these materials, and they can be regulated safely, and they're regulated safely, and they're transported safely every day. So there's no reason to really be afraid. I mean, that fire that happened where they were taking, I think back at that point in time, a lot of bulk materials and blending them in tanks, that operation's not coming back. That's not at all what they're talking about. They're simply talking about bringing a bunch of containers in, storing them, segregating them, consolidating them into a truckload quantity, and shipping them out. That's it.
Can I speak?
Have you closed the meeting?
Yeah, we closed the public portion of the meeting already.
I just asked why you want it in Lowndes County?
My concern is, we always, say we only are concerned about the zoning or the conditional use or whatever. But when I first started, there was a paper that was in front of us that said, and you're familiar with the one I'm talking about, that says we're also supposed to take in consideration the safety or the surrounding property owners. We have greatly overlooked that from what we used to do. It's an all zoning case, and that is important. But it's also important, when I sit here and I think about, we don't have to speculate on whether this could happen again, because it's already happened one time. And it was a major incident. So I understand the adjoining property owner's concern. And I wanna voice my concern about that too, because I'm kind of in that department, and it disturbs me when you have the volume. You have a certain number of gallons that's sitting on the shelf at Walmart or wherever, paint thinners or whatever. But we're talking about probably thousands or tens of thousands of gallons that's gonna be handled of different chemicals there for this being transferred from one truck to consolidate, to go on. If you consolidate one and put it all on one trailer truck to go to Texas, it's a large volume. It's not just a few gallons. So my concern is yes, do we want that exposure, and should we not go back to our form that we used to have, Chip, that we do entertain the safety and the concern for the adjoining property. I personally think, and you've heard me get on my soapbox several times about this, so I just wanted to voice my opinion about that too. I think that's something that we do need to take into consideration.
Any further discussion?
I'll just say that the only leg they have to stand on at all in this request is that they are not going to interact with chemicals. It sounds like it's just a staging point for further removal. I don't give a lot of gravity to that, but it is a fact.
But you're gonna be moving some of this stuff with forklifts or whatever. So
And if I thought there was any way to save mud swamp, which had been ruined 40 years ago, having done it extensively as a young man,
This is a
I
group
might
that
also
ruined,
vote against it, but that's gone.
this is a group that ruined Mud Swamp. I was there.
Mayor, I just want to point out quickly, since it was mentioned, conditional use review criteria, applied to all conditional uses. In your packet on page 4 is where those criteria are listed. And various impacts or not impacts on different items, there are 7 items there. And so we put that in the record for each and every conditional use. A similar listing of criteria is in each packet for rezonings. We used to have a summary sheet of those as part of your packets. That information still exists. And staff still uses it.
Thank you, Matt. All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, in reference to CU-2025-02, conditional use permit, you've already heard me on my soapbox, so I'm gonna stand on the statement I've made. I do have concerns about that. I think we do need to take the safety and welfare of our citizens and all, and I'm not just speculating, it's already happened one time. So I make a motion that we recommend denial of this request.
We have a motion recommending denial. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Butler. Any further discussion prior to the vote? There being none, all in favor of the motion to deny approval? That's 4. All against the motion? That's 5. That voted against denial of the motion. Do we need a further motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion in this case, CU-2025-02, conditional use permit for a solid waste transfer station in a heavy industrial M2 zoning district. For the reasons I just stated, this work can be done safely, and it is highly regulated, and the oversight will come from the Georgia EPD. And this type of transfer for raw materials, as I mentioned, as well as waste materials, happens every day safely all over the United States. And there's no reason, if properly managed, they could operate this requested business. The only problem is they're trying to do it in a district that's not zoned for this type of work, in a heavy manufacturing. So I vote that, I recommend that we approve this request.
With conditions.
With the
staff
conditions, with staff's conditions, 2 conditions.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Miller seconds. All in favor of approval